Here we have another question asking how one would respond to another, right? So based on the text, how would the author of text 2 most likely respond to the assertion in the underlined portion of text 1? I'm still reading text 2 first. I want to know what they think. I want to know what they believe. That way, as I'm reading text 1, I have a better sense of like what the other person might say. So starting with text 2, the potential for enhanced toxicity of nanohybrids relative to the toxicity of constituent nanomaterials has drawn deserved attention. But the effects of nanomaterial conjugation vary by case. So if you don't understand that sentence, that's okay. There is one part that you're supposed to understand though, right? Something varies by case, right? I know what that means, right? It depends on the circumstances. For instance, it was recently shown that a nanohybrid of silicon dioxide and zinc oxide preserved the desired optical transparency of zinc oxide nanoparticles while mitigating the nanoparticles' potential to damage DNA. Again, I have no idea what that means. It's some sort of example. Vary by case. I don't know. That seems good, I guess. I don't know. They said it preserved something that was desired. That seems good. And I guess going back to the beginning, toxicity is bad, right? So I guess there's some sort of mixture here, right? So my dumb summary connotations are like, there's some sort of good and bad here. I don't know. Let's go to, text 1, see what they say. Growth in the use of novel nanohybrids, materials created from the conjugation of multiple distinct nanomaterials such as iron oxide and gold nanomaterials conjugated for use in magnetic imaging, has outpaced studies of nanohybrids' environmental risk. That seems bad. Unfortunately, risk evaluations based on nanohybrids' constituents are not reliable, so risk not reliable. Conjugation may alter constituents' physiochemical properties such that innocuous materials form a nanohybrid that is anything but. So here's a good example of why we need to study vocab beyond the vocab questions. If you don't know what innocuous means, you might be kind of screwed here. This is really important. What they're saying is, well, first of all, innocuous means harmless, okay? Harmless. So if they're saying that this conjugation takes things that are harmless and makes them anything but, well, then that means they're harmful, right? So basically, this is a long passage and very complicated, but this seems to be very negative. They're saying these nanohybrids are bad. So how would text 2 respond? I guess my dumb summary is like, they'll respond by saying not always, right? Not always bad, right? So maybe a kind of like slight disagreement, though I'm going to focus on the disagreement part, not on the slight part. So let's just see. Let's see what we get, right? By concurring, that means agreeing, that the risk described in text 1 should be evaluated, but emphasizing that the risk is more than offset by the potential benefits of nanomaterial conjugation. I don't know. This seems pretty positive. This sounds like agreement. This sounds positive. I don't know. Text 2 is a little bit more mixed. I don't know. I just don't know about that choice. I would leave it. It doesn't seem right just based on my dumb summary, but it's hard. B, by arguing that the situation described in text 1 may not be representative, but conceding, that means agreeing, that the effects of nanomaterial conjugation are harder to predict than researchers had expected. Again, this seems like agreement. So from a dumb summary perspective, I don't know. I don't like the choice. C, by denying that the circumstance described in text 1 is likely to occur, but acknowledging that many aspects of nanomaterial conjugation are still poorly understood. Well, I like that denying sounds like disagreement. I don't love that acknowledging sounds like agreement, though. Let's look at D. D, by agreeing that the possibility described in text 1 is a cause for concern, but pointing out that nanomaterial conjugation does not inevitably produce that result. Okay, so we have this kind of mixture in all of them. I guess that now I need the slight thing. So let's go back to my dumb summary. They're saying it's deserved attention, right? So there's something bad, but maybe not always, right? So let's see if we can get that. Choice A, by concurring that the risk should be evaluated, but emphasizing the risk is more than offset by the potential benefits of the conjugation. I'm basically looking for vary by case. Is this saying that it varies by case, that it's sometimes good, sometimes bad? No, this seems to be saying that it's always good and that the good outweighs the bad. That's not quite the same thing, so I don't like that choice. B, by arguing the situation described in text 1 may not be representative, but conceding that the effects of nanomaterial conjugation are harder to predict. Well, first of all, I don't know what they expected. This is always an idea of like getting in the heads of people, right? We don't know what they thought unless they said something that like, oh, they were surprised by this. I can't really pick that. So I don't know. Doesn't seem like it's about predictions either. I don't know. Again, I don't really like that choice. It just doesn't feel like it hits that idea of something varying by case. C, by denying that the circumstance described in text 1 is likely to occur. See, now we start to get into like quantifiers. How do I know if something is likely or not? I don't know. They said vary by case. They didn't say it's more or less likely to be certain cases over others. So I don't love that. But acknowledging that many aspects of nanomaterial conjugation are still poorly understood. Maybe. D, by agreeing that the possibility described in text 1 is a cause for concern. So there's my negative. But pointing out that nanomaterial conjugation does not inevitably produce that result. So strong word here, inevitably, or I guess I should include the word not inevitably, right? So it's not inevitable that it's bad. Well, because it varies by case. Some cases are bad, some cases are good. So look, my first dumb summary here in terms of agreement and disagreement didn't quite produce the result that I was hoping for. But I still showed it to you because I don't think that makes me like feel like I did something wrong. It's just sometimes it would have worked and then I would have been really, really happy. Other times it's a harder question and we got to do more. So when I needed to smarten up my dumb summary, I got a little bit more specific. But notice I still didn't worry about things like conjugation and nanohybrids. I wasn't interested in the science. I was interested in the one phrase in passage 2 that I understood. It varied by case. Let's focus on that. Where do they say in any of these choices that it varies by case? Sometimes it's bad, sometimes it's good. To me, D was the only one that satisfied that. If you have questions or you disagree with me, feel free to put it in the comments. But because I just focused on that one simple idea that had nothing to do with the specific science talked about in these two passages, I was able to sort through some very difficult answer choices. And I would be very confident that D is the answer. If this were a test, I would not mark this for review. I'm very confident here that that's the answer. I mean, it is, but I think my strategy worked. I had a very dumb summary. It didn't quite get me where I needed to go. So I focused on a strong word and made that dumb summary a little smarter. And then I was able to figure out what I was looking for. But notice I did not reread these passages at any point. I didn't go back and reread them to say, oh, I don't understand what happened. No, if I went back to anything, I took something from the choice and then went hunting for that idea in the passage. That's always important too, especially when the passage is this confusing. Don't just keep rereading. You didn't understand the first time, it's not going to happen the second time either. You got to have an idea that you're looking for, and then it becomes much easier to understand at least the part that you need. And so vary by case, very simple phrase, sitting right there in the midst of a complicated passage. There's a lot to think about here. I know I'm talking a lot. I hope I gave you a lot to think about because this question is totally gettable if you understand the strategies very well.